It is not premature to talk about a changing of the guard in the AFC West and maybe the AFC as a whole when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello there, I am Tony Wiggins. He is Julian Council. Welcome to Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network. And we appreciate you joining us here on Locked On NFL and making us your first listen each and every day. Shout out to the everydayers that tune in each and every day, wherever they get their podcasts or wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen, we will be there so you don't miss an episode like the one today that is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What we like to do here is use the local experts and their clips from around our network that is #1. It kind of keeps our finger on the pulse of the team because nobody covers it like the Locked On Podcast local experts. Julian Council is here on Monday like he always is. He is the Monday guest, but he is also head of Locked On Panthers. That's right. Make sure you go over and check on Locked On Panthers to keep abreast of all of the things going on over there with him. But what we're going to do today is run you through what's going on around the National Football League. It was a very, very busy week. We're going to end the show talking about the Browns quarterback story and how it has taken a turn. It seems like we've been going round and round in circles, taking that turn, but we're back there again. In the middle of the show, the Eagles make the Lions look mortal. There's a dude named Vic Fangio that has an awful lot to do with that. But we're going to start at the very top. A changing of the, there you go, I bit my tongue, but that's okay. A changing of the guard in the AFC West. See, that was the Chiefs. That was the little angel of the Chiefs saying, not so fast, my friend. But I'm going to let Julian Council tell me, am I premature in thinking that we have possibly seen the last of the Kansas City Chiefs as this dominant team in the AFC West?
Yes.
Woo! I didn't think you was going to say it, baby, but you right there with me, dog?
Yes, I think dancing on their graves right now, a little bit too early. I know they're not in the playoffs right now. The playoffs don't begin for another 9 weeks. So, yeah, I think it's premature.
All right, I'm going to tell you why it's premature in just a second, because there's another team out there that has a lot to do with it. But I want to hear from Locked On Chiefs first. Here they go. Locked On Chiefs sitting there 5-5 and as of right now, out of the playoff picture.
The Chiefs had opportunities, but they drop a heartbreaker to the Denver Broncos and effectively ended their chances at getting the AFC West title this year. No means are they out of the playoff race, but they will have an uphill battle, especially against the rematch for this Broncos team. Lot to go over, and there are a lot of reasons why. Patrick Mahomes, not his best performance. Travis Kelce, an epic one, but yet it was not enough. Didn't get enough contributions from the rest of the offense. And Andy Reid, despite running a little bit more, didn't double down enough to grind it down, to take away the options that the Broncos gave them. It's going to be a challenge for most of the rest of the season. We're going to break it all down for you. Over on Locked On Chiefs, your team every day.
All right, so here's my theory, Julian. You look back at the Chiefs, not the Super Bowls that they lost, but the ones that they won. They were very close. One went to overtime. A couple of other those games went down to the wire, including games that I remember if a dude in San Francisco doesn't overthrow somebody, they might not win that game. The game where Jalen Hurts was the best player on the field and the Chiefs still won. I'm not saying that barely winning doesn't count, but what I am telling you is barely winning when you have Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, and at some point Tyreek Hill, 4 first ballot Hall of Famers in their prime, and they were winning close games. Now, no Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes is still in his prime, but the other two guys have slipped just a little bit, and I think that little bit is just enough for other teams to catch up.
Yeah, maybe. Because I guess you can say that's happened so far this season, but what if I told you that Kansas City actually has been better this year than they were through 10 games last year? when they start off 9-1. Like, they have more points per game. More points per game allowed defensively. They have a better average point margin, better offensive EPA, better defensive EPA, better turnover margin, and they're 5-5 instead of 9-1. So we sat here all last year, and at least I said they were getting away with it. And they got all the way away with it until they got to the Super Bowl and got beat down by Philadelphia. Now, yeah, you are right that in those Niners Super Bowl games that they played, they were just barely able to win those games. I felt like the first time around, San Francisco certainly was the better team, but the difference was that San Francisco had Jimmy Garoppolo and Kansas City had Patrick Mahomes. The better line of scrimmage team was San Francisco. In the game that happened also a couple years ago, difference was that San Francisco had Brock Purdy and Kansas City, they had Patrick Mahomes. Now, the games that they've got their ass kicked, they've gotten thoroughly beat at the line of scrimmage by Tampa, who had Tom Brady, but also a great line of scrimmage and a Chiefs offensive line that was falling apart. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, we know we talk about him all the time about is he good, is he not good, whatever, but that was a great line of scrimmage team with a quarterback who was good enough to match up against Patrick Mahomes. But I look at it, man, like the rest of their schedule, I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City wins out. Ooh. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because I get that they lost that game. They lost back-to-back games at Buffalo, at Denver, but they're not playing anybody tough on the road the rest of the year. Their road games are at Dallas, at Tennessee, and at the Raiders. They get the Colts next Sunday at home. They get Houston at home. They get LA, the Chargers at home. They get Denver at home. I think they can win all three of those road games and should win all three of those road games. And then going over to Arrowhead this season, I mean, who's beating them other than Philadelphia? That's the only team that's beat them at home so far. And the Eagles are obviously one of the better teams in the league, with still plenty of questions asked about them. So I don't rule out KC being 12-5. And if you're Denver sitting here right now at 9-2 in firm control of this division, like they have Washington, they have the Raiders, back-to-back road games after their bye week, games you should feel good about, but they still have the Packers at home. The Jags at home, who got a big win against the Chargers on Sunday. They have at Kansas City, as I mentioned, and LA. So that's not looking. I look at it, they got to win 3 games to close out the season here. And most likely they're going to, but it's not like Denver's been that convincing throughout this entire win streak. Yes, you got the big win, probably the breakthrough win. A lot of people are going to look at it over their Mile High on Sunday. I'm just not going to rule out Kansas City still finding a way to come back, win this division because of everything that we have seen over the last couple of years. I'm just not going to rule this team out.
Yeah, I don't mind you saying that. In fact, I'm glad you embrace the fact that you can never count them out because they have that DNA in them. I think Denver's a little bit different, though, and that's because of their head coach. And Sean Payton, he has a little bit IDGAF in him, and you know what that means. Here's Cody Rourke talking about the Broncos.
The fourth quarter cardiac Broncos strike again as they improve to 9-2 going into the bye week, defeating Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Bo Nix and the Broncos offense came alive in the second half and fouled away, especially on a late fourth quarter drive to march downfield to set up Will Lutz for a game-winning 35-yard field goal, exercising demons that they had last year, where they had a blocked field goal that would have won them the game at Arrowhead. Bo Nix.
Listen. Sean Payton called his shot coming out of the halftime. It was 6-6, and somebody asked him about the offense. The young lady on the field asked him about the offense, and he said, I ain't got no problem. I think we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, and we're going to find a way. We're right where we want to be, and we think we can do some things in the second half. And they did exactly what he said.
Yeah, no, they found some explosive plays, which I was very impressed by watching this. I think Panthers game ran pretty long on Sunday, so I did not really get to this game until the second half. And I was impressed by what Denver, especially Bo Nix, was able to do in the passing game and even defensively. The interception that they had was key in that game. And unfortunately for them, Sean Payton was in the white and ran into a ref, but Denver still found out a way to get down the field and score a touchdown on that drive. So, yeah, I mean, congrats to them for what they've been able to do and to be in this position where there really is not much of an excuse for them not to win a division other than the fact that Kansas City still has Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and the Chiefs will forever be lurking until all those guys are just not around anymore. So we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way to not hold on, but we'll see.
Yeah, and one of the teams that's they're the template right now for what Denver wants to do is play defense and let the quarterback just manage the game. Is the Philadelphia Eagles. They won a Super Bowl like that last year, and boy, did they look like they're primed to do it again. We're going to discuss the possibilities of that happening in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Mint Mobile. If you're overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile has it all and makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. And you can bring your own phone and keep your same number in contacts. All right, I'll tell you what I love about it. What I love about it is the service is exactly what they say it is, and there's no frills. The phones work just as good as they've ever worked anywhere else, and I'm telling you, the setup is super easy. The fact that you can keep your number really, really makes it worth it. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnfl. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time, new customer offer for just 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, moving and grooving here with my main man, Julian Council. He's here with us talking the National Football League. Some of the top teams played yesterday and last night. The game that I was really, really looking forward to that kind of became a dud to maybe the casual fan. But if you like baseball and you like good 2-1 game going into the ninth, and that's what you had last night, there's a struggle between teams that love to play defense and love to punch people in the mouth. But one team just seemed to punch harder, and that was the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's Lou DiBiase from Locked On Eagles will tell you why.
Well, the Philadelphia Eagles have the best defense in the NFL again, and it's probably going to be the reason they'll get the number 1 seed in the NFC. What a dominant performance from the Eagles defense against a loaded, star-studded Detroit Lions offense that could not do anything all day long. 4 stops on 4th down in this football game. Jalen Carter, Moro Ijoma, Jordan Davis, they dictated terms on the interior of the offensive line. Jared Goff could not step into any throw. He was completely rattled for 4 quarters. And on the edge, Jalen Phillips, Jalix Hunt completely cleaned up. Nakobe Dean was dominant in this game. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean pretty much erased Amon-Ra St. Brown. I thought Adoree Jackson looked really strong today as well. 2 big-time forced incompletions in the second half of a close game. I might make the argument, and I'm going to do it, the 2025 Eagles defense right now looks better than the 2024 Eagles defense, and that's saying a lot.
Yeah, that is saying a lot because that defense was super dominant and dominated the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Still, the game was marred by iffy calls, one that happened late. But look, if the pass interference doesn't get called with 1:17 left, I still watched the rest of the game and had no confidence that Jared Goff would march down the field and actually score a game-tying touchdown. And it's the desperation of that team. That's why Dan Campbell reverted back to what he used to do. Wouldn't take field goals, was trying to get touchdowns because I know that he knew it was going to be too hard to score.
Yeah, but also it's one of those things where when you do that, it's not like you're playing a team that has a high-powered offense this season to where, okay, we can't kick in the situation. We've got to be able to keep with them offensively. That's not at all what's been happening this season in Philadelphia. They're 26 right now in offensive success rate. They're 16th in EPA per play. Like, this has not been a good Philadelphia Eagles offense so far this year, and kind of like Kansas City last year. Maybe they're kind of getting away with it now. Their division is going to allow them to win it very easily, as nobody else there has really a puncher's chance at this point in time. And defensively, this is not a better defense, according to EPA per play, than the one they had last year, where they ranked second in the NFL with a 0.09 EPA per play. So far this year, they're sitting at a 0.06. So not far behind, but they're sixth in the NFL in EPA per play. That's so those numbers coming up from True Media. So, yeah, Eagles defensively are keeping them in this game. And in these games, rather, is going to have them win the division. It's just one of those things where, like, they're going to obviously be at home for the first round. We'll see as far as how things play out in the rest of the NFC, to where I don't know, because you look at they're sitting at 8-2, Chicago at 7-3 in that NFC North division. I don't feel like that's gonna be kind of a bloodbath going here at the end of the year. Tampa, Carolina, neither one of those teams I think is going to get the 1 seed very clearly. Like the Rams would be the team if they can run away there in the NFC West, but that's still going to be tough. So it's still a possibility that despite all the flaws that Philadelphia has this year, because of just how bad their division is and just still how good they are defensively, that they're going to possibly be the 1 seed, get that bye, and all roads have to go through Philly. And if that's the case, I mean, I can't have a ton of confidence that they won't go back to the Super Bowl. But I would still bet on LA, the Rams being the team that comes out in the NFC. Philadelphia, with all their problems, all the warts, all of the A.J. Brown, is he happy, is he not kind of situation, they could end up being a number 1 seed in the NFC.
They could be. And we'll talk about the Rams in just a little bit, because Philly beat them in a game that Philly probably should have lost.
Absolutely should have lost.
So that's like having a 1.5 game lead on them. That means Phillies has to lose twice. They can't end up with the same record. But as far as Detroit is concerned, we were wondering if there would be any fall off after week 1. Nobody, we took just a delayed approach, and then they started whooping up on people again. But in games against really, really good teams, this is where you miss Frank Ragnow, a combination of all of those guys. Frank Ragnow. This is where you start to miss the little pieces, the Ben Johnson effect. Dan Campbell is over there now having to call plays. He didn't have to do that before. And then Aaron Glenn is not there on defense. And although their coaches seem to be doing a good job, I think in these big games, it's all the joke Cat Williams told a long time ago. Detroit saw a team last night that is the mirror image of what they want to be. Physical, just bullies. And it's almost like he was talking about this car. That car looks like a Bentley until you're at the light and a real Bentley pulls up next to it. They have to reevaluate some things in Detroit. Here's my man Matt Derry to talk about it.
Very poor performance tonight from the Lions offense. They fall on Sunday Night Football in Philly to the Eagles 16-9. Matt Derry, Locked On Lions. Really, the story of this game is simple. Lions couldn't move the football. Jared Goff had one of his worst games as a Lion. Could not throw in this cold weather and wind. Philly did enough to win this game, especially on the defensive side, really batting down a lot of Goff passes. Lions had great defense themselves all night, holding Jalen Hurts and Saquon and company, but it just was not enough. Too sloppy, special teams bad, and the Lions now are out of first place. The Bears are all alone in first as the Lions drop to 6-4. More coming up right here on Locked On Lions.
All right, so something's starting to happen with Jared Goff if it hasn't happened already. He went to the Super Bowl. Sean McVay realized, I can't win that one game with this dude. I can't. And then last year against Washington in the playoffs, it seems like he threw 17 interceptions, right? Yeah. Now this year in the regular season, when you run into a team, all you got to do is just be a little bit better than he was last night. Ball placement seemed like a real big problem for him.
Yeah. It's tough because I think he's still a good player. One of the crazier things I've stumbled upon when looking at Bryce Young's numbers this year, where he has not really attempted a lot of downfield throws, even on Sunday where he had 448 yards passing. Still didn't really attempt a lot of downfield throws. And the guy who's always right there next to him statistically is Jared Goff. I'm just like, wait, how is that possible that Jared Goff and the Lions, who have been still a really good offense, how is it that he at least is having kind of similar numbers as far as like average depth of target, attempts 20 plus yards down the field, all that, next to a guy in Bryce Young who his head coach and play caller very clearly didn't trust him and wouldn't allow him to attempt those throws. I don't know what the situation there in Detroit is. And yes, obviously there has been a drop-off when you look at the Lions from last year to this year, not having Aaron Glenn as their DC, as the head coach now there with New York. And then, of course, Ben Johnson heading over to Chicago in division and having them in first place. Looking up the numbers here on True Media, just looking at EPA per play, offensively through 11 weeks last year, they were at .11, which was top 3 in the NFL. They're at .05 right now, which is still top 10 in the league, but that's still a drop off so far defensively or offensively last year. Or did I say, well, defensively is .11, now it's .05, offensively .13 to .07 through the first 11 weeks. So they've dropped off Not necessarily considerably, but it's not nearly as effective as it was a year ago, but they're still sitting in the top 10 on EPA per play offensively and defensively. So it's still a good football team. It's just not a team that was borderline elite last year before all those injuries cost them the rest of their season.
Him going deep was the problem in LA, apparently, going down the field with the ball. You would think that he has protection because the line is good.
Sure.
They keep the linebackers and safety honest because of Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. That they also keep them honest in the middle of the field because of Amon-Ra St. Brown's ability to eat up the entire route tree. And they got Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams was one of the fastest guys in the NFL. Is either something going on with golf or is something going on with the fact that they're not taking advantage of having all of those things and creating chunk plays down the field. All right, we mentioned those Rams. We'll talk about them, but not until we make a pit stop in Cleveland to find out what's going on with their everlasting story at quarterback. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Got to let you know that FanDuel is our sponsor for the day, and the NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. They have all of that stuff. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a short or a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Man, I used to think Jokic was the only dude that was a triple-double waiting to happen every night. Wemby is the same kind of guy. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, third final segment here with Julian Council of Locked On Panthers. We are going to discuss the Rams, who we just mentioned, who might be the one team that does not give a darn about Vic Fangio, where they're going to play. They might be yoked up and made that way because they have championship pedigree. But first, we have to talk about a team that does not have championship pedigree, and that is the Cleveland Browns. I will start this off by mentioning this. 10 sacks in the last 3 games for Myles Garrett is unheard of. It is sickening how good he is. I used to argue on radio with one of my colleagues that when J.J. Watt was winning 3 straight MVPs and Defensive Player of the Year, I told him ain't no way he's better than Lawrence Taylor. He's not. I even asked Tom Coughlin right in front of him, and Tom said, no, he's not better. Myles Garrett might make me start changing my mind a little bit. I'm telling you, he has been that good. And they asked him about the quarterback situation, and he kind of ducked it. Well, you don't have to ask him anymore because Shedeur Sanders got a chance to play yesterday, and now all of this mess is starting all over again because the conspiracy theorists are out. Now the problem is they actually let him play. And it just blows my mind that you don't let him play. It's a problem. When you do let him play, you didn't prepare him to play. You just treated him like you treat all other backups in the NFL. I don't know who to blame next, man. They hate Cleveland because Cleveland's the only team that chose him, and now Cleveland's the enemy. Here's my man. You got me laughing over here.
Spencer German.
Spencer German, man, to at least try to give us a little bit of something to go with.
Browns fall to the Ravens 23-16 at Huntington Bank Field tonight. But the story, of course, is going to shift very quickly to Shedeur Sanders and him making his NFL debut, his Browns debut in the loss to Baltimore. Boos turned to cheers. Boos in the first half as the offense struggled once again. Turned to cheers when he came out onto the field with the offense to start the second half. Dylan Gabriel suffered a concussion, was in the protocol, and he takes over and got off to a good start. Completed his first pass to Cedric Tillman for a 5-yard gain, and then it was all kind of downhill from there, unfortunately, for him. Second possession, he throws an interception. He gets erased by the defense, which was really erasing mistakes and problems by the offense all day, as they tend to do.
Look, I think it's either very windy there or airplane is about to land right in that stadium while Spencer was talking. So there's a lot of wind. But there's a lot of wind on these microphones and these headsets, too, talking about this. in no way, shape, or form should we have expected Shedeur Sanders to play well in his first action, especially when he was inserted into a game against a team yesterday that really can make you look bad, right? So we're going to give him some grace. And this is not added. This is not towards him. From what I heard, he's a good kid, man, who comes to work every day. He's a good representative in the community for what you're supposed to be. I'm just kind of sick of people not telling me exactly what it is Kevin Stefanski is doing wrong when he's literally doing the exact same thing that every other coach does with their third string quarterback.
Yeah. Typically the third string quarterback is on the scout team. They're not getting reps at practice with the first team. We're certainly not talking to them throughout the week. I never talked to Hendon Hooker when he was here in Carolina. I haven't spoken to Mike White at all either, because there hasn't been anything to talk to those guys about. Obviously, the story of Shedeur is far more interesting, I guess, than either one of those guys' stories. I just don't care, man. I can't sit here and pretend like I almost curse. I can't even pretend like I even care.
I know
about like this is a 2-8 football team. I didn't watch a second of this game yesterday, to be honest with y'all. What was on my radar was what was going on with the Rams and Seahawks, two good football teams. What was going on with the Broncos and Chiefs, two good football teams. I wasn't watching the Ravens struggle to beat the Browns. And like with Shedeur, sure, I guess I'll lock in for this week if he's going to be the starter, because I don't really want to judge this guy off of his appearance where he came in the second half because the guy got injured and obviously he was not prepared to start. Because why would you prepare your third string guy to start? And even your backup, he doesn't have any experience playing in the NFL outside of the preseason. So yeah, I mean, you can't expect him to go out there and play well if you're a hater and if you're somebody who loves Shedeur. Like, I don't think that's Stefanski's put in a position to not succeed. But now this week, if he's going to be the starter, at least for the time being, he's going to be prepared like the starter, as Dylan Gabriel's going to be in the concussion protocol. And that's not something that gets cleared up immediately. We'll see if he starts next week. How does that go? But I think from the very beginning, it was pretty obvious in Cleveland that Flacco was going to start off the year, that then Gabriel was going to get an opportunity, and then they want to give Shedeur an opportunity. And in all likelihood, neither of those two rookies or Flacco, who's not even on the team anymore, was going to be the answer and be the starter for them heading into 2026. They were likely going to go back out there, try to get another quarterback, maybe in the first round of the draft this year, go find a veteran who's young and be a reclamation project. But it was unlikely that any of these guys were going to be it. But for 6 more games left in the season, or 7, I don't know how many, was it 2-8 right now? So yeah, 7 more games left in the season. If Shedeur can get 7 starts, like, that's a good thing. 7 opportunities to show Cleveland and the rest of the NFL what he's capable of, and it starts potentially this week. So we'll see. Whether it goes good, goes bad, I don't really care.
Yeah, and you know what? And the reason why I put this topic right in the middle of the show is because what you're saying can actually be echoed in the minds of a lot of people. Because here's the thing. At what point did we ever think that Cleveland, that's had 192 quarterbacks in the last decade, were going to do right by a quarterback? At what point did we think a dude that had allegations, the proportions of Deshaun Watson, should have gotten a fully guaranteed contract that would wreck an organization? At what point did you think they were going to do well by a player? But here's the only problem. We had a whole draft where nobody else took him. And we also had a whole trade deadline where teams that needed quarterbacks did not trade for him. So we can be mad at Cleveland all day, but the bottom line is this. It is what it is until it ain't. And what it is in LA is that's the only team that I think has a chance to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They ain't been able to do it the last 2 times, but they think they can, and they won a big game yesterday against the Seahawks, the one that Julian was just referencing. Here's Locked On Rams.
Woo! That was way too close, but the Rams hold on to beat the Seahawks 21-19. They've now won 5 games in a row. They're sitting at 8-2, first place in the NFC West with a 64% chance of winning the division. Myers missed a 61-yard kick that would have won it for the Seahawks. But how about that punt from Ethan Evans? We can talk game ball all year. Guys like Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jared Verse. Game ball today goes to Rams punter Ethan Evans, who had one of the greatest punts you'll ever see in the history of the National Football League. The Rams holding.
Now listen, Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, a win is a win is a win. But Devontae Adams is banged up. He's older. Matthew Stafford is, you almost think he's gonna get banged up every single time because he's older. Offensive line is still a little shaky. Running back has had some fumbling issues. I want to believe in the Rams so bad, man, but it's just something pulling me back, telling me don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
I believe in the Rams. I think I've stated that multiple times on this show this year that I'm a firm believer in the Rams. And I was a firm believer in Detroit last year, but then they had all the injuries. So, look, I think this is the best team in football. I felt that way heading into the season. Matthew Stafford may not be top of the MVP odds on FanDuel. That's my guy, Drake May. Oh, my God. Can't believe it.
Go ahead. You can't say that in North Carolina, can you?
Oh, man. But yeah, Stafford's been great. This defense has been excellent. 4 Sam Darnold interceptions, the 3rd time in his career. He's had a 0 touchdown, 4 interception game.
Man, sometimes, hey,
what in the world?
Hey, whatever, that little ugly head will pop up just when you think you forget, it'll pop up and say, no, I'm still here, right?
Hey, because, hey, when you're a Jet, you're a Jet for life. It's never going to leave you. I can't believe that. But Sam will be fine. The Seattle will still make the playoffs. Just know when it matters most, like what happened on Sunday, like what happened last year at the end of the season, this is going to be Sam Darnold. But I do trust Matthew Stafford. I trust Sean McVay. I trust that defense that's been rebuilt with Aaron Donald now in retirement. I think LA is the best team. Now we'll see. If in that still tough division where, let's see, the remaining games they have this year. Let me see if I can find the schedule. They still have Seattle later on this season. So they still have Tampa next week, which will not be an easy game. Now Tampa's going to certainly be in desperation mode as they don't want to lose their 3rd straight game, already having lost New England and Buffalo out of the AFC East. But they have, looking at it. Okay, I'm on Philadelphia schedule now. Okay, where is it at? Damn website. Okay. Yes, they have Tampa next week. They have at Carolina. I don't think the Panthers are going to beat them. They have at Arizona. They have Detroit at home, which will obviously be difficult. At Seattle, never easy. At Atlanta, Michael Penix Jr. looks like he's done for the season. Home against Arizona. So they still have a couple of tough games in there, but I do think that this team, even if they end up not being the top seed, because I feel like Philadelphia is probably in the best position to be that just because of where they sit as far as their schedule. And I want to say, looking at just the toughest remaining schedules in the league, the Rams are sitting here. They're at 22nd, while Philadelphia is 26th. So, I mean, both those teams in a good spot to probably be the top 2 seeds in the NFC just based off of that. But yeah, I think LA is a great team. And if they get a 3rd chance over the last 2 seasons to play Philadelphia, I think they're going to get that one next time, or maybe the Eagles just own them. Who knows? We'll see. Find out in January, possibly.
So based on what you just said, I have the Rams going at least 13-4.
Sure.
That would mean the Eagles would have to go 12-5 to have to travel to LA because they beat them head to head. So if they both end up 13-4, got to get on the plane and go back to Philadelphia. All right, I made Julian talk about the Cleveland Browns, so he threw something in there about the Jets because those are the he actually doesn't mind talking about the Jets. You know what I'm saying? But I made him talk about Cleveland, so he had to give a side swipe to the Jets. That's just the way we roll here. We are the #1 sports podcast network here on Locked On NFL, and it's for a reason, because of people like Julian and the other local experts, and because of my man Tyler Rowland, who will wake you up early in the morning on the Locked On NFL AM show. I'll slide back through the barbershop, the show that you're watching today, and we'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on around the National Football League. 34 minutes today. Went a little over, but that's all right. It's well worth it, and it was a lot of fun. We'll see you later here on the barbershop on Locked On NFL.